Hello and welcome. You are listening to the Ditch Decade Diets podcast. I am your host, Lorna, certified food freedom coach and founder of the Ditch Decade Diets Academy. I've spent 10 years in an unhealthy relationship with food, binge eating, over-exercising, and feeling insecure in my body. This podcast is all about helping you get to the root of your food struggles and teaching you how to rewire your brain so you can end binge eating. If you're ready to improve your relationship with food and cultivate more self-love towards yourself and your health, this is the podcast for you. So let's get to it and jump right in. Okay, so I am just going to start off by sharing a few things that helped me on my journey. And then if you guys have any particular questions for me, you guys can drop them down below. So something that really helped me in terms of like the mindset piece to conquering binge eating was reminding myself that I wasn't broken. When you are struggling with binge eating and you are feeling out of control with food, it is so easy to believe like there's something wrong with me. I must be broken. But the only reason or the main reason that you might feel broken or you might feel like something's wrong with you is because it's not talked about enough, right? I say this all the time, like binge eating, unfortunately, there are so many people that actually struggle with binge eating, but nobody talks about this stuff. Nobody talks about eating until they're physically sick. Nobody talks about thinking about food all day long. Nobody talks about just having no control and eating in secret because there's so much like guilt and shame and judgment that comes with every single binge. And for me, like nobody in my family that I knew struggled with binge eating. None of my friends struggled with binge eating, or maybe they did, but it was not talked about. So when you feel like you're the only person going through binge eating, you are going to feel like I'm broken. But I'm here to tell you that there's literally nothing wrong with you. You aren't broken. You have just wired this habit of binge eating into your brain, right? So every single time that you feel that urge to binge and you give in, you are further ingraining this habit into your brain, which makes each urge that much more challenging to give into. And this is where it can feel so frustrating because you might even recognize from the very first binge that you had compared to maybe now, maybe you feel like it's just getting harder, like it's becoming more complicated. That was for me in my journey. It honestly felt like my urges were becoming more and more and more intense over time. And that was true, right? Because every time that you give in, like the urge becomes more intense. It becomes stronger and stronger and stronger, and therefore that much harder to not give in. So maybe at the beginning of your journey, you were able to, not give in. And then as you kept giving in, it just became harder. And it feels like it feels impossible to not give in, right? That was really for me, for my journey. So one of the things that really helped me, like I said, was no longer believing that I was broken. Right? So that's the first thing. The second thing, which I kind of talked about, was not giving into your urges. And you have to take it one urge at a time. When you think about, ending binge eating, it can feel like this kind of like daunting thing of like, maybe you've been binging since you were 5 years old, 7 years old, 14 years old, and maybe binge eating has been a part of your life for so many years. And, again, like it's very easy to just be like, one last binge. Like this is going to be my very last binge. Like I kid you not, I made so many promises to myself that I'm never going to binge again. And those promises were always after like the worst binges ever, or like the day after a binge. I'm like, I'm never going to do that again. And then it's so easy for a strong urge to come on and be like, I have to give in. Like tomorrow I'll do better, but like tonight, like I'm home alone, so might as well take the opportunity. Or like I have only like a few cookies left, so I might as well just finish them and I'll be out of the house, and then tomorrow I'll do better. Like it's always that all or nothing mindset. Somebody says, how do you know if you're a binge eater? So binge eating is, there's so many different aspects to binge eating. One aspect of binge eating, of course, is, consuming a lot of calories at once. So you kind of feel like you're going through like this out of body experience. It's typically done in secret when you're home alone. So when nobody's around, maybe you go into your pantry and you just like, eat a bunch of food. There's also so much guilt and shame around binge eating. So if you feel guilty about eating certain foods, if you are thinking about food all day long, those can be signs of an unhealthy relationship with food, and binge eating. Binge eating is also like you have anxiety when eating. Like maybe you're like so stressed about like, am I allowed to eat this? Can I eat this? Is this a good food? Is it the bad food? Is this going to make me gain weight? What are the calories, right? Like when I used to struggle with binge eating, food was literally on my mind 24/7. And I kid you not, like going to a social event gave me so much anxiety because I'm like, am I going to be able to eat there? Like, what's in this food? Like, what are the calories? Like, so if you have a lot of anxiety with food, if you feel guilty about eating certain foods, if you're thinking about food all day long, if you're eating in secret and you're consuming lots of calories at once, you feel like you're going through this out of body experience. That is what binge eating is. Okay. Okay, next question here. Somebody says, do you just instantly stop binge eating or do you slowly stop? So the way that I share this with my clients is this. Good question, Madison. Binge eating didn't happen overnight, and it won't end overnight either. Right? So there's not like one thing that you did, or just in general, there's not one thing that causes people to binge, right? There's an accumulation of different things that cause people to binge, right? And so when it comes to ending it, it also requires an array of different tools to end it. So it's not like take this pill and like you're just going to magically stop your binge eating, right? It's rewiring the brain. I talk about rewiring the brain a lot. So rewiring the brain in the sense that you got to change your thoughts, right? You got to no longer see food as good versus bad. You got to stop beating yourself up after a binge. You have to release judgment, right? Practicing not giving into your urges. This happens over time. So let's say, for example, you feel a strong urge to binge and you don't give in. That's going to help. It's not going to magically stop your binge eating after doing it once, not even twice, not even maybe 3 times, but you keep doing that over and over and over again. That's how you reprogram your brain out of the diet binge cycle. If you've just binged and you're like, oh, such a failure, and like you're beating yourself up, that's not going to help you stop binge eating. If you change the way that you speak to yourself and you eat regularly the next day, that's going to be supportive. But doing it once is not going to stop your binge eating. Doing it twice is not going to stop your binge eating. Doing it over and over and over again, the repetition is what will rewire your brain. Hi, Kim. Is there anything I can do or say to help a loved one when they binge without making them feel judged? This is really tough because, man, oh man, I remember when people I actually got a comment when I was maybe 16, and somebody actually like said to me, like, I'm really worried, like, I think you have an eating disorder. And I was just like, I didn't really know how I felt about it because I knew that I was not normal around food, but I was like, I don't want to believe that I have an eating disorder. Like it's so challenging. What I would either say or I would suggest is like, hey, I was listening to this podcast about, XYZ topic, and I found it so helpful and I just wanted to share it. Right? So you're not like, hey, I think you're struggling, like go listen to this podcast. It's like, oh, I found this podcast really helpful, or I heard a lot of good things about, this podcast, right? So for example, you can give them my podcast, right? The Ditch Decade Diets podcast, or another resource. Or it depends honestly how close you are with them. Depends on the relationship you have with them. If you're like super, super close with them, then you can just say like, hey, like, I just want to, make sure everything's all right. And sometimes when you are vulnerable and you share something that you're going through, the other person is more susceptible to sharing what they're going through. So for example, if one of my family members came up to me and they were like, it didn't have to be binge eating, but they're sharing something very vulnerable of like, I struggle with my mental health, or I struggle with depression, or I struggle with anxiety, and they come up to me and they're sharing something that they're going through. I'm like, thank you for sharing that. And it's like you're in it, then they're in a more position to feel safe to share what they're going through. And that's not always going to be the case, but sometimes that can be helpful as well too. Once, if you're vulnerable or you share something that you're going through, somebody else might be more susceptible to changing, to sharing what they're specifically going through. Sophie, how can I stop the binge when I feel it coming? How can I calm the urge? So I'll give you a strategy and then a mindset thing. So the first strategy thing that I would say is you need to create a state change in your body. Everyone comment state change below in the chat. State change. So that you remember state change. What do I mean by a state change is you got to change how your body's physically feeling. So many people are like, I'm just going to tell myself to not do it. Have you ever told yourself, I'm not going to do it, and then you ended up doing it? You can't think your way out of a binge. So what I mean by a state change and changing how your body physically feels is using either breath work, movement, or a cold shower. Those three things are really going to create a state change in your body, and you're going to physically feel different. When you physically feel different, you're going to regulate your nervous system, you're going to feel more relaxed, and you're also going to think differently as well too. And those three things are way more effective than trying to think your way out of a binge, right? Like I said, if you just say like, don't do it, don't do it, all you're going to think about is binging. But instead, if you do things like shaking, movement, breath work, cold shower, and you create a state change, I've had so many clients tell me, they're like, the urge passed. Like I didn't even feel the urge anymore. And that's because you're grounding your nervous system, you're grounding yourself, you're literally becoming less impulsive. So that's what I would recommend. Now, in terms of the mindset piece, what I would say for the mindset piece is I always recommend that you remind yourself that you are stronger than your urges. What I mean by this is it's so easy to convince yourself, like, I have to give in. Like, the only way that I can feel relief is if I give in. The urge is going to convince you, like, you need to give in. You need to give in. But you're just experiencing discomfort right now, but you don't have to give in. The urge is going to be like, you must give in. It's going to be persistent. It's going to be demanding. It's going to be like, this is the only way you can experience pleasure. But you have more power than you realize. Right now, you might be giving so much power to your urges. And when you think that the urge is so strong and it's way more powerful over you, it's like, I'm not even going to bother trying to not give in because I'm just going to give in anyways. And that's the wrong mindset. It's like, you know what? I'm going to beat this urge. I am not going to give in. And every single time you do not give in to the urge, the next urge is going to be less intense. The next urge is going to be less intense. And you keep doing that. The urge becomes less intense over time. And eventually you stop feeling the urge to binge altogether. Who wants that? Drop like party emojis or like drop an emoji below if you're like, that would be amazing. That's what's going to happen. When you practice not giving into your urges, the urge becomes less intense. And then eventually you literally just don't even feel it. Sanella said, sometimes I binge out of fear that I won't be able to sleep if I feel a bit hungry. So yes, nighttime binging is super common. Who here struggles with nighttime binging? Drop a me down below. I had this as well too. And this often comes from a background of like restriction. If you have been on like diets, right? It's like there's so much fear of like, I don't know when I'm going to eat again. Or what if I get hungry, but I don't have any macros left? What if I'm hungry and I'm not supposed to eat after dinner? Like all these thoughts in your mind, right? So then oftentimes it's like a scarcity thing of, I don't want to be hungry, so I'm just going to eat just in case. Just in case. I don't want to get hungry. But you have to remember the food is not going anywhere. You can eat in 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. If you go to sleep and you wake up and you're hungry, you can go and eat. But if you're judging yourself of like, nobody does that, I shouldn't be doing that, that's wrong, that's bad, I can't eat before bed, I can't, then it's like you're going to binge to protect yourself from getting to that point of being hungry. So that's what I would recommend. And also, if you guys have not yet joined Break the Late Night Binge, we're starting tomorrow. The link is in my bio. Literally go right now to the link in my bio. I'm going to help you stop binging and emotionally eating after dinner in the evening. So if you're somebody who can typically do well, you enjoy eating healthy, and it's so much easier for you to do this during the day, but then come the evening after dinner, you literally feel like a switch goes off in your brain and you're like, I just feel out of control, or you always feel like you need to be doing something with your hands, or you can't just relax, like you always need to eat in the evening. My program, Break the Late Night Binge, would be so perfect for you, and we're starting tomorrow, and I'm so excited. The link is in my bio. Go and sign up. You save $100 before we start tomorrow. So I'm super pumped. Okay, let's see here. Julia says, nighttime eating is the most challenging for me. Yes, Julia. Come join us inside Break the Late Night Binge, you guys. Honestly, all my binges used to be in the evening. Like, I would be the person that I would pack a healthy meal, healthy meals, healthy snacks to work. And I enjoyed eating healthy. How many of you guys enjoy eating healthy? Like, you like eating healthy, right? But then it's like, come the evening, it's like, what do I really want? Like, what did I not allow myself to have during the day that now I'm just going to say, screw it and have it in the evening, right? So that's also like a mindset piece as well, too. And, a lot of the times it's like great that you enjoy eating healthy, let's say during the day, but this could be unconsciously restricting yourself and dismissing cravings, and then they just build up over time and turn into urges in the evening, where your brain's decision-making power fatigues as the day goes on. So you can have the best intentions of, I'm going to eat super healthy, I'm not going to binge at night, and then you have a binge in the evening, right? Because your brain's fatigued. So even in the program, Break the Late Night Binge, I'm going to teach you specific brain-based tools that you can use first thing in the morning to help you reprogram your brain and become less impulsive with food late at night. Victoria says, what do you feel the root of binge eating comes from? Two things. Number one, restriction, and number two, habit. So number one, if there's any rules, any restriction, I can't eat this, I can't eat that, food rules, I have to have protein and vegetables at every meal, can't eat after 7 o'clock, I can only have one piece of chocolate, that is going to spiral and backfire and lead into binges. But number two, it's habitual. So I have some clients that come to me and they're not really restricting, but they're still binging because it's a habit. And like I talked about at the beginning of this, I said, every single time that you feel the urge to binge and you give in, you're further ingraining this habit into your brain, right? So imagine binging for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years. Like, that's going to require reprogramming of the brain to get out of these habitual cycles. Shay says, what's the difference between the binge urge and normal hunger? So the binge urge, it feels like you have to give in right away. So hunger happens gradually, right? So hunger, you're like, oh, like maybe you're getting a little fatigued, or maybe you're like low in energy. Maybe you are, maybe you're like your stomach is growling and you're like, okay, it's probably time to eat something. But an urge is like, I need something right now. Like, you can't wait 10 minutes. It feels super uncomfortable. I describe it like almost like an itchy mosquito bite. An itchy mosquito bite, right? Like, that's how I describe the binge urge to my clients. It's like when you have a itchy mosquito bite, right? You're like, don't scratch it. Don't do it. Don't scratch it. And then you're like, oh, I'm just going to scratch it just a little bit. And then like you start scratching it, and next thing you know, you can't stop scratching it. That's the urge. You're like, I'm just going to have one little piece of chocolate. And the next thing you know, it's like the entire box of chocolates, and then the entire cookies, and then it's the ice cream, and then it spirals into a binge. So I've tried to allow myself to eat sweets yesterday and last weekend, but it always turns into a binge. Okay, so this is a really good thing. And you want to continue allowing yourself this. What I see with a lot of people is, I've tried to eat sweets yesterday and a weekend, and I'm spiraling into a binge, so it's not working. I'm like, you've only done it like twice. Like, this is going to take time. Trust doesn't happen over a weekend or in one day. Trust happens over time. And I know we all want like a quick fix solution, but building up trust around sweets and making peace around sweets, like it's going to take some time, right? So if you've just done it last weekend and yesterday, phenomenal. Like that's amazing. I'm so proud of you. But you got to keep on doing it because the shiny magical lure that the sweets have is going to lose its power the more times you do it. Okay. Ba, 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 ba. Um, let's see here. You guys, there's so many questions. So if I don't see your messages because it's all, I have to scroll all the way up. I should join definitely. Sanella, let's get you inside. Come join us. Okay. Bum, bum. Let's see. If I made the mistake of eating that one piece of chocolate, how can I stop the binge from happening? So the first thing is actually you didn't make a mistake of having a piece of chocolate. You judging yourself for having one piece of chocolate is going to spiral into a binge. Because when there's judgment, it's like, I did something bad. I have to keep going and I'm going to do better tomorrow. Right? So one person, okay, one person can, okay, I just need to block some people because some people are just so crazy. Okay. If you have, so one person can have a piece of chocolate and they're like, that was amazing, or not one piece of chocolate, they can have some chocolate, okay? And they're like, I was craving it, satisfied my sweet tooth, and they can move on with their day. And then somebody else that's like, I'm so mad at myself. Why did I have a piece of chocolate? I shouldn't have had it. Oh my gosh, I'm such a failure. Oh, I ruined my day. I'm just going to do better tomorrow. And then it's like that judgment actually fuels a binge because you believe you're doing something wrong. It's like, oh, already messed up, all or nothing mentality. Well, let me pull out the rest of the cookies or the rest of the chocolate and let me just finish it. And then tomorrow I'm going to do better. How many of you guys can relate to the all or nothing mentality? Like that is so common, right? So the first step, yes, it's always tomorrow. Yes, exactly, Krista. It's always tomorrow. It's like, I'll do better tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes and you feel an urge and you're like, Monday. Right? So common. So common. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Oh, hey, Krista. Thanks for that little gift. It's amazing. Any other questions, you guys? You can drop your questions below if there is any other questions. Questions, question mark. These are some really good questions. You guys are just amazing. So, like I said, if you guys are really struggling with nighttime binging, you're like, for the most part, I can do well all day, but then come the evenings, that's when I am, spiraling out of control. That's when I am, binging. Then I would highly recommend you join Break the Late Night Binge. Like I said, we're starting tomorrow. You can click the link in my bio to join. You save $100 if you join before tomorrow. So I'm super pumped for all of you guys that joined. Like, this is going to be so incredible. I went from binging every single night. I kid you not. It did not matter if I was full, if I was tired. It didn't matter if it was 7 o'clock at night or if it was, 10 o'clock at night. I would always be needing to eat. Literally, I would always be willing, like, I always needed to eat. And sometimes it was emotional eating. Sometimes it was just like binging out of control. Sometimes it was like, I'm just bored and I need to eat, and I'm going to help you. I'm going to support you guys with all the specific tools, whether you're emotionally eating at night, whether you're binging at night, or whether you're just like mindlessly snacking late at night. I'm going to give you very tangible tools for each one of them to help you. Krista said, thank you for your support. You've helped me with my mindset towards food. Heck yeah, Krista, I'm so proud of you. It's a work in progress. Well, you go, Krista. You are amazing. All right. Here I'm eating and feeling bad. Don't feel bad. Don't feel bad. You guys, one thing when it comes to ending your binge eating is it's so easy to beat yourself up and be hard on yourself and like speak so negatively to yourself, but that just fuels the binge cycle. And I know it's like, I deserve it. Sometimes we convince ourselves like, I'm not going to be happy that I just binge. Like I feel like a failure. Like I need to beat myself up because maybe if I beat myself up, like then I'll have motivation to do better. It's never, ever, ever the case. It's never the case. Because the reality is, it's like guilt, shame, and judgment all fuel the diet binge cycle. If you are compassionate and you are kind to yourself, I know it's so hard to do that after a binge, but that is what your body is needing. Your body is needing love and compassion and to give it kindness and to give it grace and to remind yourself that you're on a journey of healing your relationship with food. This is you're not going to magically stop your binge eating in one day, right? So being kind, being compassionate, giving yourself what you need, choosing to not restrict the next day after a binge, choosing to not over exercise the next day to compensate, that's what's actually going to help you prevent another binge from arising. Did you ever struggle with body image issues? 1,000,000%. You guys, body image struggles directly are related to your relationship with food. And in fact, the reason why I actually started dieting in the first place, and for a lot of people, it's because I struggled with my body image. When you don't like what you see in the mirror, that's when you start dieting. I got called fat in grade 8, and at that moment, that's when my dieting history began. I was in grade school and I was, forcing myself to eat only vegetables. I would, my mom used to pack my lunch and I'm like, I need to pack my lunch. And I was terrified to eat in front of other people because I didn't want to be seen as fat. I would eat in secret because I didn't want people to like know how much I was eating. So body image struggles are directly related to binge eating 100%. And when you don't feel good in your own skin, a lot of the times it's like, oh, I'm never going to reach my body goals. Well, screw it. I'm just going to binge. Right. Or it's like, oh, I need to lose weight. I hate the way my body looks. So I'm going to, I'm not going to have that piece of chocolate, or I'm not going to order the pizza that I really want. And then you're dismissing your cravings and then you're going to have more urges. So it's directly related. I binge to regulate my emotions when stressed, work as a teacher. How can I regulate without food? So I am also a breathwork facilitator and I help my clients with breathwork. So even doing some breathing techniques would be really, really amazing. My mom was actually a teacher. I love that you're a teacher. Breathing techniques, breathing techniques is really, really good to regulate your nervous system, but also checking in with yourself throughout the day. Because this is what happens, especially if you're a teacher, right? You're like, you're just kind of go with the kids all day. And it's like, you don't really have time to check in with yourself. And then maybe come the end of the day, the emotions have just built up like so big. And then it's like, it's so hard to regulate your nervous system when you're almost at like max capacity. So if you were to take some time to check in with yourself regularly throughout the day, like, how am I feeling right now? Like, what emotion am I experiencing? And you just even have that simple awareness, and awareness can help you feel an emotion, even if it's for like 5 seconds, right? So you check in with yourself throughout the day. That can help to actually prevent you from emotionally binge eating, because it's like, oh, I'm aware that I'm really anxious right now, or I'm aware that I'm really angry right now, and it won't like build up over time, right? So I would recommend breath work and then also regular check-ins throughout the day. Do you or did you ever feel stuck in a cycle of lies, secrets, and food? Alice, what do you mean? Like, so I'm binge free and I've been binge free for 4 years, but in the past, I definitely felt like, well, I was stuck in the cycle of like binging and emotionally eating, and like I was stuck in that cycle for 10 years. But I just did a podcast episode on this and I said the moment that you decide you're ready to stop binge eating is the moment you're going to end it. So the moment you all decide, like, I am ready to end this, like, I am sick and tired of promising myself that I'm going to have just one last binge. I am sick and tired of feeling bloated and inflamed. I am sick and tired of thinking about food all day long, and you're ready to break free. That's the moment that you're going to end it. Back in 2019, I was so done with binging. Like, it was impacting my relationships, my intimate life, my career. It was impacting my mental health. It was impacting my physical health. It was impacting so many areas of my life. And I just had this moment where I was like, I can continue binging and waking up and feeling bad and feeling guilty and beating myself up and feeling bloated and feeling inflamed and like just feeling gross, or it's like I can do something about it. And that's when I decided like I'm ready to heal my relationship with food. And here we are, 4 years binge free. But I wouldn't be here today if I didn't decide back in 2019 to heal. So the moment, I'm going to say it again, the moment you decide you're ready to heal your relationship with food and stop binge eating is the moment you're going to conquer. I feel like I'm stuck in the cycle of binging, lying about if I've eaten to be able to not be judged, and then secret eating. Yeah, this is an unhealthy relationship with food. Yeah. You're not alone, right? You guys are not alone. And this is why, like, if you guys have not yet joined my Root and Rewire membership, I would recommend that as well too. Because when you're part of a community of other people who are going through the same thing, they're binging, they're, thinking about food all day long, they're on their journey of conquering binge eating, like you realize that ending binge eating is so much closer than you think. Like I've had clients come in and they're like, I am so thankful that I'm not alone, number one, but also like with the proper tools, like every single day you can be utilizing tools to get rid of your urges. Every single day you can be utilizing tools to stop thinking about food. Every single day you can have tools to get back in tune with your hunger and fullness cues so you can effortlessly stop when you're full. Like it's so much closer than you realize, you guys. So the links are all in my bio if you guys are interested in that. When my grandparents passed away, the binging came back because of the sad emotions. Yeah, and this is why it's so important to learn how to process, cope, and manage your emotions so that you don't turn to food. And of course, I'm sorry to hear that, Sophie. I know it's hard, it's challenging. And I said this, I think, the other day, and I said, no one teaches you how to process your emotions. You're not taught in school, you're not taught in school how to process your emotions. Nobody teaches you like how to feel to heal, right? Like what is that, right? Until we actually get informed and we learn like, okay, my emotions, like it's safe for me to feel, it's safe for me to grieve. Maybe you guys were even told when you were younger, like, don't cry. Why are you crying? Oh, you're making it such a big deal. And that blocks you from showing sadness or from crying. It's like I have to be strong. Like there's so many things that go into it. May I ask how much the membership is? Yes, absolutely. So the membership starts at $97 per month. And you guys get immediate access to over 14 hours of trainings to improve your relationship with food. You get a monthly masterclass training with me to improve your relationship with food. You get a monthly Q&A with me to ask your personalized questions. And you also get to be part of a community that will really help you to feel less alone. And that's honestly worth the entire membership. Also, for anyone that joins the membership this month, you also get my Become Less Impulsive with Food 21-day challenge. It's included this month only, where every single day for 21 days, I teach you a specific tool to help you become less impulsive with food. And it's been incredible. So I hope to see you inside. The link is in my bio. Hey, Jess. All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much for being here. Again, if you have any questions or you want to join any of my programs, feel free to message me on my Instagram. There's a few links in my bio as well, too. The Break the Late Night Binge program starts tomorrow. So if you are struggling specifically with nighttime binging, I would really recommend you jump into this program. Because you're going to be able to wake up in the morning feeling light and energetic and actually hungry for breakfast, not full and bloated from how much you've eaten last night. So this will be a game changer for you. Oh, thanks, Alice. This will be a game changer for you guys. So I hope to see you inside. I love you guys. Have the best day ever, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye.